And coming at you live on Thanksgiving Day, this is Impact Showdown Radio coming at you live right now on blogtalkradio.com and over at our sister website at infinityOneProductions.com, also heard on Stitcher. Thank those of you that are checking out this special episode on Thanksgiving Day, November 22nd, 2012. Hopefully everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving Day. Hopefully you were able to spend some much-needed time with your loved ones. Hopefully you were able to get all the fixings and you had a pretty good big meal. I know I am still recovering from earlier. A lot of yams and, oh my, just a whole lot of stuffing and turkey. You know, what better way to end the night than by kicking back and talking about the latest fallout from Impact Wrestling. Hey, for those of you that were checking out those football games earlier today, if you saw the triple 1-2-3 punch as we had the games, what was that, the Redskins, they were playing today. They just embarrassed the hell out of the Cowboys. I believe we have the New England Patriots. They're playing right now. I believe they're taking on the New York Jets. Haven't seen the score in a while. I know we got the halftime of that game playing right now where we see Lenny Kravitz is performing. The game earlier is slipping my tongue. I know I was watching it, but I got totally distracted, so I really wasn't sure who was playing on that one. But I know the score was pretty close. I want to say it was the Detroit Lions. Not quite sure who they were taking on, but I know that was a really good game that had went into overtime. I know a lot of multitasking I was doing over here today, getting ready for the show. And it's a one-man band tonight, folks. Everybody else over here has the night off. I am just by myself tonight. I'm working the switchboard. I'm looking at the chat room, feeding you guys wrestling results. I gave everybody the night off. This is going to be a pretty short episode tonight. If you are usually checking out our episodes, you know usually we go about 90 minutes solid. But tonight, with it being Thanksgiving and all, it's only going to be just 45 minutes, maximum an hour long tonight. The goal is going to be 45 minutes. So without any further ado, let's go ahead, jump right into it. As always, you know, we got the chat room that's open on Blog Talk Radio. Feel free to interact with us. It's uploaded right now. You can also interact with us on Twitter at InfinityOneProd. You can also hit us up on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. Like our page, follow us, never miss out. We cover so much more than wrestling-related news. We cover a little bit of everything. Mad shout out to our new subscribers that had liked our page on Facebook. Been picking up quite a few people today. Mad shout out to y'all. Hopefully y'all appreciate the great contact. All right, so let's talk about Impact Wrestling tonight. This was the Open Fight Night edition of Impact Wrestling that saw the return of previous TNA Gutcheck winners. That's right, Christian York returned. The beautiful, the flaming redhead, Miss Taylor Hendricks, she returned. First TNA Gutcheck winner, Alex Silva, made his return. Sam Shaw made his return. We also got a TNA Gutcheck match that actually had saw Wes Brisco in action. That's right. Now, Impact Wrestling would begin with Wes Brisco in his TNA Gutcheck tryout match as he took on none other than, get this, folks, the first TNA Gutcheck winner, Alex Silva. I know, very hard to believe. All the people you can challenge. Wes Brisco challenging, correction, my mistake. Correction, Wes Brisco actually took on Garrett Bischoff. It was jumping a little ahead there, folks. Apologize about that. Wes Brisco took on Garrett Bischoff. Must admit, very impressive encounter that we saw right here. I was more impressed with Garrett Bischoff than I was with Wes Brisco. You know, it just had me just briefly going down memory lane, thinking about how Garrett Bischoff was when he was first coming on board for TNA Wrestling. I remember the angles that he was in. I remember how he was mooching off of the star power that Hulk Hogan had, Devon, Bully Ray, a few other wrestlers, and I just remember the fans just being so irritated with Garrett Bischoff. They just felt as if he was being shoved down their throats. They felt like this was a case where Eric Bischoff was abusing his power as a behind-the-scenes type of guy, TV producer, and they just felt that he was just using TNA wrestling as a way to really catapult his son into TNA wrestling. A lot of people, they had grave concerns. They felt that maybe Garrett Bischoff was going to be on that one-track path to titles that he had no business holding on to. I could just remember week after week there were just so many fans on top of wrestling shows that were just going on a 30-minute course, just bashing Garrett Bischoff, just 30-minute segment, just dedicated to bashing Garrett Bischoff. And I guess eventually that feedback got back to Bischoff Sr. as he scaled back quite a bit on just how much his son was being used. Actually tried to have his son go the babyface route. Fans kind of really still weren't buying it. Well, how do you really die the situation down? Well, eventually we saw Garrett Bischoff kind of get taken off TV for a little while. Then a few times that we did see him, he would get paired up with Devon Dudley, and that for the most part was working out pretty good. But, you know, it seems like he's just come a long way. I mean, what I saw him do tonight in the ring with Wes Brisco, and when you think of Brisco, you know that name is just connected with such a long history of professional wrestling. And you know that name, you know the value of it, and you're just thinking about that experience that Wes Brisco is bringing into that ring. Downright looked very impressive, but Garrett Bischoff just really looking more seasoned. I was more happy with his performance than I was with Brisco. Garrett Bischoff showing true signs that he really does care about learning the craft of being a wrestler. And, you know, with that mentality, I think Garrett is going to go, without a doubt, much farther than we initially had reported a couple of months back, because originally it didn't even look like as if he really had any business being in the wrestling ring. And I know I was very critical of Garrett Bischoff early on, and I don't quite feel like that anymore based on what I had saw tonight. I feel that he's going in the right direction. I like the slow course that he's taken. But Wes Brisco would actually pick up the victory over Garrett Bischoff. Very questionable, though, how this win had came about. And it was one of those type of moments where unless you had been watching Impact Wrestling Live and you had your DVR and you would have rewinded back, you would have saw exactly what a lot of people were talking about. We were paying attention to what a lot of you guys were saying on the Twitter, Facebook, and very interesting what y'all had said. You say, wait a minute, Wes Brisco, he didn't exactly get the win here because his back was on the mat. Shouldn't that have been a victory for Garrett Bischoff, or shouldn't that have been just a double 1-2-3, nobody won? And it's so funny because critical few seconds in that match, we saw Wes Brisco. He went for this weird pin where he hooked Garrett's leg and he kind of did this like sunset flip type of maneuver. And you see that the pin is set up in a way that it's supposed to favor Brisco. But you could clearly see that Brisco's shoulders were on the mat as the ref counted 1, 2, 3. Little bit of a botched move right there. And I know it had fired up a lot of people that were like, wait a minute, this match shouldn't even be over. It should still be going. What the hell? What's up with the referee? Bad spot right here. Couldn't agree with you more, but, hey, win is a win right now. Who knows? Maybe Eric Bischoff and crew, maybe they'll be a little smart and maybe they'll kind of hear enough of this negative feedback and maybe they might try to make something out of it. I mean, folks, we did see Kurt Angle come out immediately during the match, but really after the match is when he really started making his presence felt, and he was just congratulating Brisco. Backstage segment, the celebration, it had just continued as Angle tells Brisco how very proud he is of him and that he's going in the right direction. He also kind of tossed a little bone out there to Garrett Bischoff, saying, Garrett, you're already there, but Wes, you just did so great tonight. Love what you did. And you just kind of saw this slight look of dissatisfaction from Garrett's face. Garrett just kind of came off as if he wanted to be the one to get that pat on the back, that he wanted to be the one to get that a boy, good job, that's how you do it. Yeah, and it just kind of makes you wonder if Garrett might kind of look at that and, I don't know, it kind of seems like Garrett has been unfortunately been floating around these past several months without having that fatherly advice of one Eric Bischoff. It just kind of makes you wonder if perhaps Garrett Bischoff is trying everything he can to look in those places to find that fatherly support. I know Kurt Angle is an older man. I mean, he's probably, about 43 by now? Not exactly father type, depending on how young exactly Garrett Bischoff is, but you folks see exactly what I'm saying with this. This could be a story angle in itself if done right. I know a lot of people don't really want to entertain the idea, but, Garrett Bischoff could be part of Aces and Eights. You never know. I mean, there's a perfect backstory that could explain his affiliation with the group. From there, folks, we also saw Al Snow talking with all the TNA Gutcheck winners, letting them know that tonight was their night. Go out there, have fun, but he also told them to pick wisely as they really need to make it count, as all eyes are going to be on them tonight, and basically to not disappoint. As from there, folks, next up, we got to see who wants a mustache ride himself, Mr. Joey Ryan, come out. And he took a few shots at the Open Fight Night concept and also had talked about how all the TNA Gutcheck contestants were back and how that was a path that he had tried, but that he's so better than that, as he proclaims himself to be one of the top TNA stars in the company. And he also takes a quick shot at Hulk Hogan, letting him know that, hey, Hogan, just because you sit up and you divide Matt Morgan and myself, you're not separating the tag team champions. And, folks, I said that right, as that's exactly what Joey Ryan said, as he sees himself and Matt Morgan destined to become future TNA tag team champions, as this was a perfect setup for Joey Ryan, who was looking to make his mark, as he called out one Chavo Guerrero Jr. for a match. Now, it was our second match of the evening. Great encounter between these two guys. One of the things that mainly jumped out at me, I said, wow, Chavo, Joey Ryan, just about the same size, and they just looked so comfortable together in that ring. These guys really came off as if they had been wrestling each other for a good number of years. That's just how flowing, just how smooth it was watching these two guys get it on. It really had me sit up and go, man, I wish instead of a tag match, it was actually Joey Ryan and Chavo kind of getting it on in a singles feud for maybe a couple of months. Now, we saw Chavo Guerrero. He defeated Joey Ryan via disqualification, folks. Hot-headed Matt Morgan, he ended up coming into this match just when it looked like Chavo Guerrero was about to wrap things up with that infamous frog splash that Eddie Guerrero made famous. Of course, we did see Chavo bust out the Three Amigos, and as always, there is that little plug for Eddie here, as seems like ever since he's popped up in TNA, every time he does those Three Amigos, there's that little plug there for Eddie. I wish they would just kind of let that go past for a week. We can really use a week without always bringing up Eddie. Hey, no disrespect to Eddie Guerrero, great wrestler, but if I am really supposed to be sold on a wrestler sitting up saying that he wants to become his own man, that he is looking at TNA wrestling as a way to really make his mark in professional wrestling and not always be compared to one of Eddie Guerrero, then, I'm looking at it from that standpoint, and I'm saying to myself, okay, well, can't you kind of lighten it up a little bit on doing the Three Amigos, doing the Frog Splash? I mean, if you're going to do them, but don't have the commentators always say, oh, busting out one of those moves just like his late Uncle Eddie. Just don't pass on that, or altogether just have Chavo do something entirely different. Different set of moves, all that. I think some of you would agree with that. But in any case, Matt Morgan comes down to the ring, grabs Chavo by the neck as he was getting ready to do the frog splash, and choke slams him to the canvas, and the referee pretty much threw the match out after that, awarding the win to Chavo. Big Supermax Hernandez would actually come out, and there was almost about to be a brawl right here, but we saw Matt Morgan leave out in time. I love the way this is happening. It looks like when it's all said and done, Joey Ryan, Matt Morgan, Chavo, and Supermax, looks like they're going to be getting it on at Final Destination the way this is looking right now. And, I say I'm ready for it. Let's see what happens. It's been almost, folks, 2 months now since we have seen Matt Morgan. Actually, it's been a lot longer than that. We've really yet to see Matt Morgan in-ring action. I was about to say he's been back for pretty much about 2 months, but he really hasn't been having hardly any singles matches. If he has had one, it's not coming to me right now. We'll definitely do some research on that, and we'll give you guys an update on that when we get ready to do the weekend edition of the RCWR show. But as far as I can remember right now, Matt Morgan hasn't had any singles matches yet since he's been back. But looks like the way this is playing out, all four of these guys are going to be getting it on for those tag team titles. Also, what we had saw next up was Sam Shaw in action as he had challenged the first TNA Gutcheck winner, Alex Silva. That's the whole match I was really thinking of earlier. This match right here, I really don't have anything to really say about this match. I mean, it was decent what I had saw from these two guys, but I don't know. I guess I was kind of expecting a little bit more. If you want to pick my brain as far as, well, who walked away having a little bit more charisma from this match? Well, I would have to give the edge to Alex Silva. Alex Silva kind of playing a heel role, if you will, being cocky, telling the audience, yeah, should I finish it now? Guys, should I finish it now? Really playing up, and, I think that worked very well for him, considering that a lot of people did not want him to be the first TNA Gutcheck winner. A lot of people were kind of looking at him and saying, you know what, not him, not quite, and we all know the backstory to that. It's infamous now. We know he was not originally supposed to win TNA Gutcheck. This was a parting gift from one, nature boy, Ric Flair, so we get that. But Sam Shaw picked up the victory over Alex Silva. I'm looking at this match, and quite honestly, folks, I actually would have went with Alex Silva for the win over Sam Shaw. I mean, Sam Shaw, he's got a nice look, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Maybe I need to see a little bit more charisma come out of him because I really just wasn't that impressed with what I had saw from him. Also, we had got to see the return of the turkey suit, folks. That's right. We saw Eric Young, another consecutive week in a row here where EY is making a return to Impact Television. He showed up with his wife, ODB. They had a few words with the Hulkster. Hulkster wondering what the heck was in EY's hands as he revealed it was the turkey suit, and that is a tradition that has been happening in TNA for a good number of years now. and wants to get Hogan's blessing. Hogan, he doesn't care. He says, go out there, brother, and challenge anybody for all I care. Hogan just wants to be left alone. He just cares about making sure that the show runs smoothly, but he gives fair warning to EY, which is watch out for the aces and eights because they are going through guys on the roster. Be careful. Speaking of aces and eights, we saw Devon, VP, Doc, and the other aces and eights brothers gather around the table as always. They have their drinks, and their wives or mothers, whoever it was, probably their mothers, they gave them this ringy-dinky, funky little turkey. It was a big turkey, but if you guys were watching Impact tonight, you got to admit that turkey looked dry as hell. And when you just go into, I don't know if you call it the butthole of the turkey or I don't know what you call it, but the hole, where the stuffing is supposed to go. It was just so dark, so hollow. No juices were in there. No stuffing was in there. That turkey just looked very funky. It looked like somebody had the turkey sitting out for maybe 2 weeks. I mean, it just looked so dry and just funky. And, the thing that got me going was, how are these guys going to eat the turkey if they all got masks on? I mean, I know Devon and Doc are going to be able to, but how exactly are the other brothers going to be able to dig into this food? Well, luckily, we hear that for dessert, the brothers are going to be having strippers. I don't know about you, but that sounds like one kick-ass Thanksgiving holiday, all right? But there's a little bit of business that needs to be taken care of first before they can enjoy their turkey and dessert. And you know what that business is, folks. We see VP go over to that infamous board now of TNA male wrestlers, and you know the pattern by now. Each person they attack, hey, wherever that dart lands, that's who they attack. And in this case, another dart is thrown. Once again, we don't know who it is that the aces and eights are going to attack. But we do hear Devon say, fellas, it's going to be a very good Thanksgiving. Fourth match of the night, and for me, this was one of the truest, greatest moments of the night, folks, hands down. And if you did not see Impact Wrestling tonight, I can't stress it enough. For sure, you want to see if you can catch this match in its entirety, perhaps on TNA Wrestling's YouTube channel, or if you might be fortunate to find it from a uploader on YouTube. Highly encourage you to go check out this match that was coming up next, which saw Jeff Hardy take on Christian York. Now, let me set this up for you guys. Christian York came out to the ring, talked about his 16 years in wrestling, fighting, clawing, trying to make his way to the top, trying to get that opportunity, and he just feels that Lady Luck is on his side right now, and he feels that it's time for him to double down. A lot of people might think the move that he's about to do is crazy, and he admits that he probably is a little crazy. But the Virginia native would sit up, and he would call out Jeff Hardy for a one-on-one match, non-title match, mind you. And we saw a beat-down Jeff Hardy, still reeling the effects of that match he had from the last TNA pay-per-view, struggling a little bit here as he was coming down to the ring, really looking like he really wasn't trying to have anything to do with this match. What was funny about this match, though, I liked how we had Jeff Hardy. Past couple of weeks, we've been given a little bit of insight into what Jeff Hardy is thinking, because he just has these thoughts that just come out loud from his brain, and we can just hear it. I know it was irritating a lot of people, including us over here. And it was so funny because we see Jeff Hardy, he's getting ready to come out. I'm kicking back, I'm relaxing, and I'm saying to myself, okay, Jeff Hardy's getting ready to have this match against Christian York. Wait a minute here. We aren't going to hear what's on his mind. What's he thinking with regards to this? No, honestly, that was the case. We didn't get to hear what he was thinking. So I was like, okay, well, it is what it is. But in either case, folks, Jeff Hardy, Christian York, phenomenal match. I mean, this was one of the best matches of the night. It's actually right up there with Turning Point when Jeff Hardy took on Austin Aries in that ladder match. And I know some of you guys are probably hearing that. You're saying to yourselves, Lee, that's jumping out there just a little too far, dude. Like, no. I'm being truthfully honest. That's how good this match was. Christian York was wrestling Jeff Hardy as if, his life depended on it. I mean, this guy was just downright so freaking impressive that it actually had me question, wait a minute, just who exactly is the TNA World Heavyweight Champion here? Because the way Christian York was bringing his game, that's how damn good it was. If you were to just sit down, a casual wrestling fan that didn't have any knowledge of what all was going on in TNA wrestling, they would probably ask, okay, which one of these two guys is probably champion? Which one is it? That's just how good it was. Now, we saw Jeff Hardy. He did get the victory, and post-match we saw Jeff Hardy embrace York. They celebrated. Nice little gesture right there. But as Jeff Hardy was celebrating by climbing the turnbuckle, saluting the fans, Christian York looking on at him, we saw one it factor in professional wrestling, Bobby Roode, attack Christian York from behind, then set him up for a double-A spine buster. Jeff Hardy still celebrating with the crowd. He comes on down. He turns around. Boom. We see Robert Roode hit him with a spear, and he grabs the champion's title and lets him know, basically, final resolution in just a couple of weeks. Game on. He's looking to take away that championship. Surprisingly, no sign of one cowboy, James Storm. For those of you that are wondering, we know we had a major cliffhanger there last week where Robert Roode had took on James Storm for his number one contender spot and cheated his way to earning that spot. No retaliation whatsoever by James Storm. Very curious to see what's going to happen next week with James Storm, who apparently had the night off, as we didn't get to see him this week on this episode. Coming up next, we had that turkey match, gobble, 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 where it was Eric Young taking on Robbie E. and Jesse. Now, the way this match had came together, Eric Young, ODB, they were actually backstage, and we see Rob Terry with Robbie E., and both of them were poking fun at Eric Young, and they actually didn't like the fact that the turkey suit was coming back because, remember, folks, Big Robbie was the one to last wear that, and he still is ticked off about wearing that suit. So EY, he put the challenge out there to Little Robbie to face him in a match, but then we see Tara and her boo, Jessie, come on out, and they had a little quick hot shot words, whatever you want to call it, and EY, he says, you know what, okay, I'm going to challenge you, and hey, Jesse, I'll challenge you. So that's how we got this triple threat match. Now, we saw Eric Young defeat Jesse, and as a result of that, you know what time it is. Jesse had to unfortunately put on the turkey suit, and he did do so. It was a little reluctant, but he did do so. He leaves the ring. ODB, EY, they're celebrating. They're about to leave the ring when all of a sudden those damn aces and eights, they come out of nowhere. They come into the ring. They start ganging up on EY, and they handcuff ODB to the outside of the ring as they beat down EY, and they set up EY just like they did with Sting, just like they did the week before with Magnus. They set him up, Devon playing quarterback as his legs were pinned. EY, of course, his legs were pinned, and Doc comes in with that hammer, that infamous hammer, and just goes at EY's ankles. Not once, but twice. Devon's about to let him have it with that bat when all of a sudden TNA officials, they come down, and aces and eights, they scatter like roaches. But once again, aces and eights, they've made their mark. As it appears now, another person has been taken off of the list. No, I'm not talking about Big Robbie, Little Robbie's list. I'm talking about Hulk Hogan's TNA roster list. That's what I'm talking about, folks. Really interesting development right here as aces and eights, they just continue to seem to go down the list of taking out male rosters, male talent on the roster week after week. I got to see the very lovely Miss Taylor Hendris. Oh, this was one of my favorite moments of the night. We love Taylor Hendris. I mean, great backstory that she has right there. Being misdiagnosed with cancer, having a different outlook on life, and then finding out that she didn't have cancer. I mean, I just couldn't imagine if I was in that type of a position, just what it would do to my psyche, and then to find out it was a misdiagnosis. You only know when the spirit is being tested, but great backstory for Miss Taylor Hendris. Of course, she had won a lot of people over with that story. Rookie, without a doubt, only 23 years old, comes out to the ring, and she challenges none other than the TNA Knockouts champion, Miss Tara. Miss Tara, of course, having all those years' experience being in wrestling. She's been around the block a few times. A lot of folks, when they hear her age, they go, wow, well, she looks so good, and realize she was that old. But, yeah, I mean, she's at least in her late 30s, early 40s. I mean, really, seasoned veteran right here. Tara downright embarrassed this poor little girl. Let's just be straight up with this. This was a slobber knocker, okay? I mean, Tara owned this girl from beginning to end. It was decent on Taylor's part, a lot of heart, but when it's all said and done, just embarrassed. Now, we could talk about how it was the last time she had took on Tara. Now, I can honestly give you an analysis on that because I can remember the first time she took on Tara a couple of months back, and I can compare that to what we had saw tonight. And I can honestly tell you, Tara's come a little bit of a way. She's made some progress. But unfortunately, when I look at all the TNA Gutcheck contestants that returned tonight, all the winners, Tara is the one that's unfortunately, in my estimation, this is my honest opinion, I do not have the final ruling on this, but this is just my honest analysis, my final report on Tara for now. What I saw tonight, sister is just not ready. She is probably going to need at least, I'm not even exaggerating when I say this, to me she seems like she needs at least 6 more months before she's really ready. And, she is showing signs that she's making progress, but she's just not ready for that main roster yet. Hopefully it can come. I mean, she's down there at OVW, TNA's little power plant. A lot of great people have come out of there. They've been very successful coming out of the plant. Big names such as Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, The Animal Batista. A lot of great big names have come out of there. I believe Bobby Lashley. So, I mean, it's just a matter of time. But she's on the right path right now. But, yeah, not quite ready. All right, moving right along, folks. Next up, we had got to see AJ Styles take on Kazarian. Now, this was a result of Daniels and Kazarian coming out, and they were doing a little bit of tag team, bashing the hell out of AJ Styles as Daniels reveals just why he's decided that he's going to take on AJ Styles, as it's now revealed that their match, the one last time match, is going to be happening at the Final Resolution pay-per-view. Daniels basically sarcastically saying he's doing this because it's his way of being a friend and trying to help somebody out in a time of need. Kazarian, in the meantime, he calls out AJ Styles. he wants to try to add a little bit of insult into what has already been a struggling year for the phenomenal one. AJ Styles, he comes on now. And Daniels, he actually did not stick around for this match. He decided that Kazarian had it. Daniels wasn't needed at ringside, so he let Kazarian be. Solo. Big mistake right here. AJ Styles defeated Kazarian. Classic encounter right here. To play off of what somebody had said a couple of weeks ago, one of the callers had said, it'd be really nice to see AJ Styles maybe feud a little bit more with Kazarian as opposed to Daniels. And I must admit, seeing these two guys get it on tonight, I do welcome that as well. Would be nice to kind of see these two guys get it on. Of course, AJ Styles, from the early reports that we've been able to gather up, looks like AJ Styles is possibly going to be finishing things up at the Final Resolution pay-per-view, and maybe is going to be taking a little bit of time off to rest up and be with family and come on back a few months down the road. So very interesting development right there. Of course, we'll be staying on top of that, give you all the very latest on that. But from what we've been able to gather right now, kind of fits perfectly why AJ had lost that match at the Turning Point pay-per-view last month, where the loser won't get a title shot again until Bound for Glory 2013. All right, your main attraction of the night was none other than Austin Aries, who had a shocking announcement to make, so to speak, as he was looking to call out somebody on the TNA roster who he felt is not really needing a gut check, but they needed a reality check. That's your teaser right there. Now, we see Austin Aries. He comes out, and he just starts bashing the name Hogan. He sits up and talks about how he is so sick and tired of Hogan always getting in his way, that it's always because of Hogan that he feels that he is being, what's the right word to say without really being explicit on Thanksgiving, always being screwed, if you will. And with that in mind, Hogan decides that he's going to call out, Aries that is, decides that he's going to call out the ugly, tan, bleach, blonde. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because just the way he set this up, you're like, all right, so he's going to call out Hogan. Well, all those descriptions that I put out there, the Hogan that he called out was actually Brooke Hogan. And so Brooke Hogan comes out, and she's questioning just why is all these slurs being thrown out there at her. Double A reveals how for 25 years now, everywhere he's gone, he's had to hear the name Hogan, and he's sick and tired of it. He's tired of it being shoved down his throat, and he questions Brooke if she maybe has had a hard time in her respective private life trying to not be so synonymous with that name Hogan, and feels that Brooke may be waiting for the day that she can finally get rid of that last name. Even going as far as to say, hey, maybe she could marry a Trump, but looks like it probably won't happen. Or even a McMahon. That's right. Little reference there to the McMahon family. But instead, Aries says, I bet you never dreamed that your last name would be Bully Ray. And we see Austin Aries sit up and say, hey, just what exactly do you think is going to happen right there? You think your father would even approve of you getting married? Well, then again, your dad probably wouldn't want you to lose the name, so your whole name is probably going to be changed to Bully Ray Brooke Hogan. And it gets a nice little chuckle from the crowd. We see Austin Aries, he explains further as Brooke Hogan, she's like, what are you talking about? I don't see where you're going with this. Austin Aries enlightens her. He shows footage from 2 weeks ago. Remember the footage from 2 weeks ago? We were one of the first wrestling shows to talk about it, how there was that little subtle touch there between Bully Ray and Brooke Hogan in a backstage segment as Austin Aries was on his cell phone, and he kind of glanced and saw a little something, wasn't sure what was going on, but he was like, never mind. And then we see the footage from last week where we saw Tara and Jesse enter Brooke's office, and we see her and Bully Ray on the sofa. Looked like they had a little cuddly moment right there. And so we see Brooke Hogan. She's now looking on. She is just pretty embarrassed at what had happened. And we see Austin Aries. He tells her, hey, if you wanted some stuffing, all you had to do was just come talk to me. We immediately see Hulk Hogan come out. We see Bully Ray come out from a separate way. I don't know where exactly Bully Ray came from. Didn't look like he came from behind Hulk Hogan. If he did, nice little moment right there. I'm kind of surprised that the two of them didn't actually bump head to head before going to Brooke's aid. But we did see Bully Ray come out shortly after, and both guys were just eyeballing for Aries. And Aries, he quickly leaves the ring, tells them all, hey, sorry, ha, ha, ha. And, he's just laughing his way out. We see Brooke Hogan, embarrassed, crying. She just runs to the backstage area. Hulk Hogan, Bully Ray, looking on at one another. And you just see the two of these guys. Perfect setup for next week, as now you're sitting up saying, oh, man, just what exactly is going to happen next on next week's episode of Impact Wrestling now that this has happened. Overall this week, I would have to say that this was, without a doubt, a very solid episode of Impact Wrestling that we had got tonight. It was one of those type of episodes that, from the Gutcheck perspective, I want to just talk about that for a moment, because I know somebody was asking me earlier during the course of the episode, what was your favorite Gutcheck matches? Which contestants did you see there that looks like they are hands down ready for the main roster? And to answer that question, I think Wes Brisco, hands down, I think that guy is ready. He needs a little bit of work, just a little bit more, but I think he's ready. I definitely feel that Christian York, the guy's been at it for like 16 years now, hands down, that guy, without a doubt, is ready. Other than that, Taylor Hendricks, Sam Shaw, unfortunately, I don't look at them as being ready. I think they need a little bit more work. Sam Shaw, I could possibly see him come back maybe in, I don't know, maybe he could come back in a couple of months. But when it comes to Taylor Hendricks, as I said earlier, she's going to need a little bit more time. But if you ask me if there's anybody that's ready off the break, hands down, Christian York, he's ready. Wes Brisco, surprisingly, he's ready as well. But really great installment of Open Fight Night. It was a welcome breath of fresh air. I think this is one of those type of moments that we saw tonight. They should definitely do it more often. I would love to see more TNA Gutcheck winners pop up around the Thanksgiving edition episode and have their respected tryout matches. Also, another thing that I would like to see happen, I would like to see the ones that aren't winners. I would like to see the ones that made a memorable impression on the TNA roster for their respected matches. So guys like Evan Markinopoulos, I'd love to see him come back, and hopefully guys like that really make that nice strong impression that kind of came off as if they were really deserving of another shot, so to speak. I wouldn't mind seeing a concept like that happen, but TNA Wrestling, they are really on to something with their TNA Gutcheck. For those of you that might be wondering what was going on with Backstage Pass, there was no Backstage Pass tonight because TNA Wrestling was taped. In case you didn't get that memo, the episode that you saw tonight was a taped episode that was done last week. So they will be back to business next week, but that's next week. Next week you get your live results. You'll be able to catch it live in progress. I would think that the Backstage Pass will be back, as this will now mark officially 2 weeks now that we haven't seen Impact. You guys know what I'm trying to say. This makes 2 weeks now that we haven't gotten our Backstage Pass segment. And we reached out to TNA Wrestling. We reached out to Dixie Carter, Jeremy Borash on their respective Twitter handles. And we had asked them what was going on with the Backstage Pass for last week, why it wasn't up and running, and we never did receive a comment from them about that. It was kind of one of those moments where, well, maybe they kind of had some other stuff that they needed to do, who knows, but it is what it is right there, folks. All right, so that is going to do it for your TNA Wrestling. Hopefully you guys had enjoyed that coverage. There really hasn't been that much wrestling-related news that has been happening on the TNA wrestling side of things. It's pretty much been a slow, quiet week. And on that note, that's pretty much it. Show's going to be over. Like I said, today is Thanksgiving Day. We wanted to do 45 minutes strong of this episode. I know some people were asking, are you going to be taking calls tonight? And, we kind of felt that since it was Thanksgiving, and, we kind of go back to, maybe chilling with our, family and everything like that. And, it's one of those moments where it's like, it's nice to be able to do episodes like this. You're in and out, you get your news, you get your fix, and, you can go back to enjoying the weekend and enjoying your good stuffings, your turkey, and all that good stuff. But we will have the phone lines opened up when we get ready to do the Weekend Report edition of the RCWR Show coming up this Saturday. And let me tell you guys what we got planned for that episode. It's going to be a pretty solid episode. Here's what you can expect. We're going to be covering the very latest in wrestling-related news from TNA, WWE. We'll cover what all had happened on Wednesday's main event as Dolph Ziggler had took on Mr. Show-Off himself, Dolph Ziggler. We'll also cover the fallout from WWE SmackDown, very latest in wrestling-related news, and we'll also cover the very latest in entertainment news. And here's the kick-ass part, folks. We're going to be sitting up, and we're going to be providing reviews for the following albums on this Saturday's show. We're going to give a review for Queensryche's G of Tate's new album, Kings and Thieves, Soundgarden's new studio album, In 15 Years, King Animal. We'll also have Aerosmith's Music from Another Dimension review. We'll also have Trent Reznor's latest side project, How to Destroy Angels. They just released a 30-minute EP album. It's called Omen. We'll give you guys a cool review on that. Also, Steven Adler, the drummer from, I believe it's the drummer from Guns N' Roses, he has a new album that's out. We'll give you guys a really kick-ass review for that. Really, it's going to be a jam-packed episode. A lot of great content's going to be on there, a lot of stuff that we're going to be covering, so make sure that you check it out. It's going to be this Saturday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern, right here on blogtalkradio.com. And, yes, the phone lines will be open, so you're more than welcome to call into the show. In the meantime, that is going to do it for tonight's episode. I do humbly thank you guys for checking out this episode. We would have went longer, but again, it's the holiday. We want to make sure that you guys are able to spend time with your family. For those of you looking for those real fixings that we usually do, you definitely want to check us out this Saturday. And, hey, if you're going to be going out for those Black Friday sales, be very, very careful. It's not worth losing your life getting trampled over. Keep the peace is what I always say when it comes to the Black Friday sales. Where am I going to be for Black Friday? I'm going to be chilling. I've already bought my stuff ahead of time, so I don't need to be worried about getting trampled out there. But if you're going to go out there, more power to you. I know some places are going to try to open up around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. That will kind of be your best bet. You really won't deal with too much hassle. But, yeah, try to play it safe. That's going to do it, folks. Subscribe to us in the iTunes, Zune marketplaces. Use the keywords, the RCWR Show, and that's going to do it. We do wish everybody a very safe and happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you this Saturday afternoon for the RCWR Show Weekend Report. Till we hear from you, I'm the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders.